As a young adult, one of the most questions I face daily is what can I do to better the country? My answer always is your vote can inflict more change than you think. Using your power to vote as an instrument to spark change is your duty as a citizen of the United States. Most American citizens over the age of 18 are entitled to vote in federal and state elections, but that wasn't always the case. Before the Voting Rights Act was passed, black people and women as a whole couldn't vote. Even though the voting rights was passed and extended them to be able to vote, voter suppression was a major problem in parts of the country where most African Americans live. Politicians try to win re elections by limiting the number of specific populations of voters. For example, African Americans were not thought of when voting polls were selected, and also they were far away from a lot of their homes, businesses, and such forth. Minorities should be more intrigued to vote because a lot of the laws being passed are affecting them in their communities without them even knowing it. Also, for years, it was hard for minorities in the world to vote until the 15th Amendment was passed in 1869, that black men were allowed to vote. Even with the 15th Amendment, many black voters face artificial hurdles like poll taxes, literacy tests, and even being mauled and killed by the Ku Klux Klan and other white supremacist groups. As an African American, I feel we owe it to our ancestors to exercise your right to vote, not only because they fought for us to be able to vote, they were also killed in the process in trying to give us the right to vote. If you coin to yourself that one vote doesn't matter, I challenge you to look at history close and look at elections that came down to maybe one or two votes. For example, in a recent example, Donald Trump defeating Hillary Clinton. In 2016, by securing a close electoral college, Trump was able to get the vote to win, even though Hillary won by popular vote. That is a very good explanation on how your vote matters and can shift the change of who wins and who loses. Voting locally is just as important as voting presidentially. Your votes are not just only going to electing politicians, but also it can get parks made in community, funding for schools, highways built, and even police reform and things of that matter. I feel with everything going on with social injustice, police brutality, using your right to vote to elect the right police chiefs and putting the people in place that care about the everyone as a whole will better the country. Most people take their voting right as a luxury and even for granted. I hope that after this speech you realize it's a privilege and an honor. People like LeBron James has even invoked policies and procedures to help people that lost their votes due to felony charges and such forth to be able to vote because they realize also that everyone matters when it comes down to voting. Voting has been, in my household, a topic of discussion for many times. My parents also always challenge me, if you're not going to vote, then you might as well just be quiet. With saying that, I thought those were harsh words, but then I realized that to this day, voting means more than just pushing a button or writing in a ballot. Voting can shift the way you live, your neighbor lives, and anybody in your neighborhood lives. So why not take that power and use it for good? If you're not going to use it, somebody else will, and they will put people in place that might not have your best interests at heart. I challenge everyone to really look at politicians locally, presidentially, police chiefs, fire chiefs, judges, and really see who really is in their favor, and that's who you should vote for. Don't just give somebody your vote because another person told you without doing research. Research who you want to vote and make the change. Thank you.